Welcome to the Kumihimo YouTube channel. In this video, I would like to continue my series of Kumihimo round braid counted designs. And a counted design is one where you need to count out the beads individually on each cord to achieve a particular pattern, such as a wide stripe like that, beads on either side like that, little triangles like that. Or, and this is the one I'm going to show you today, clusters, like this. So, for this design I have used size 8 seed beads and I've used round maggot hammers for the clusters. But you can use anything. The whole point of this video is to explain to you how to achieve this design, the actual setup of this design. The sizing of it is up to you, the choice of beads is up to you. So what I want to say first of all is that it's very important to have your disc in the correct starting position before you thread on your beads. And the correct starting position is quite simply the same starting position that the person who designed the pattern started in, i.e. the way I started it. So if you need to do any braiding before you get started on threading beads, which you will do to use for your clasp, do that first. Then get your disc into exactly this position. So you need your cords on either side of the dots in the north, south, east and west positions. But more importantly, the next cords to move need to be top right and bottom left. And the way you decide this, if you're not sure, is that you need to look closely at the cords and determine which ones are on the top, because they're the last cords to have been moved. So I can see if I look at this, that these navy cords are on top of the silver cords there and here. So these two are the last two cords to be moved. So that means I know that these cords are the next ones to be moved. The other thing to look at is the shaping of the cords, whether the shape is a V or a U shape. And by that I mean, if you look closely at these silver cords, they're quite close at the bottom, which means they form a V shape. Whereas the navy cords are much wider apart at the bottom. So they form more of a sort of U shape. So what you need to remember here is that the V shape are the very next cords to be used, and this is regular round braid. We're going to use top right and bottom left first. And finally, if it is your habit to leave your disc like this, get yourself to that point where your cords are in the north, south, east and west positions, and you'll have your cord down. You may work the other way, you may work bottom up first, in which case your cords will be in this position. So whichever way it is, you know you're in the correct position now, but you've got to return that third cord to its position so that you've got your cords in exactly the right position to match up with the chart. And by that I mean here. So here is the chart. Now you can either take a screenshot of this, or you can go to my website, Kumihimo.com, and if you're not sure what that is, here we go, Kumihimo.com, and just simply search for counted designs and you'll find more information about counted designs and the charts used on my website. But it's probably quicker if you just take a little screenshot now, and I'm going to explain exactly how this works. So just to remind ourselves, this is for the clusters design. So it's got little clusters of a contrast colour of bead running just down one side of the braid. And so what we've got is the slots across the top. And this is where there can sometimes be a little bit of confusion. The most frequent way of the markings on a disc, what you'll find most frequently, most of you will have this set up where you've got the numbers on either side of the slot. So in this case what we're looking at here is I've got slot 32 stroke 1, So this is the slot here. We've got 32 on one side, 1 on the other. However, some discs have the number, and this is one of Sally Batters's lovely discs, they have the number right under the slot. So that's why I've put the number in bold. So in this case, it's number 1. So you've got the slots going across the top, and here you've got the numbers coming down the side, and this is a 4-row repeat. So I've broken down these designs into a repeat of 4 rows to make them easier to manage. And all you need to do is thread up your disc, and I'll show you in a moment how, following this pattern and using as many repeats as you need. Now, I can't tell you how many repeats to use because it will depend on the beads you use. So, but I can give you an indication. So if you're using size 8 beads and you want to make a bracelet, you will probably find that by repeating these 4 rows 9 times will give you a small size bracelet, 10 times will give you a medium size bracelet, and 11 or more will give you a larger bracelet. Now, it can be difficult to identify which chords are which once you get going. So I recommend putting on an extra repeat or 2 right at the beginning. You don't have to use that. You can just leave them on the chords if necessary. Alternatively, make sure you've marked your chords before you get started so that you know which chord, number 1, number 8, number 9, etc., which ones they are. And you can do that just by using an extra bead and using a marker pen and marking those numbers on, something like that. When you so the colours you're going to use obviously depend on you, the sizes, all the rest of it, they will all make a difference to your final braid. So let's have a look at how we actually do this. So I'm just bringing in a disc and I'm going to bring in some beads. Now these will start to be a little bit unruly, they'll probably roll away a bit, but it's just so I can show you exactly how to do this. So this is good. These beads are going to be my background colour, and these beads are going to be my cluster colour. So all I need to do is, so A is background and B is cluster. So all I need to do is take my first chord that's in slot 32 and 1 or number 1 and follow this pattern. So I'm going to pick up an A, B, B. That's 1 repeat. And I'm going to keep on doing that as many times as I need to. And what you can do, you might find you lose count, so you might find it's easy just to do a little tick or something to keep count of how many repeats you've done. That was 1 repeat. So I just carry on doing the same thing. A, B, B, and so forth, until I've got as many repeats, plus 1 more to be on the safe side, as I think I'm going to need. I do recommend, because the accuracy of this is absolutely crucial, I do recommend checking each chord once you've threaded it. And to do that, just separate them out into 4s, make sure you've got your patterning right. So A, B, B, A, B, B, etc. And so now I'm going to move on to the next slot. So here I take the next chord, and this one is A, B, A. So A, B, A. That's 1 repeat. And again. A, B, A. And so forth. And remembering to check them. So that basically is how you complete your threading. With one extra thing. Now I'm just going to move those beads out of the way so you can see. Some of these charts start across the top with your first row of all of your background colour. And in that case, I then ask you, when you've done all your repeats, do one final bead, so one final row, which is one final bead on each cord. So you're just going to do another row 1. So when you've done all your repeats, just add on another of your row 1. And that will just give you this, the little gap in between. So let me just show you here. That will just give you that little gap there and there at each end. Now, if you have threaded on more beads than you need, you may need to remove some repeat, and you braid and you get to the point where you know you've got enough braid, you may need to remove some of your repeats. So don't forget to pop on that extra bead just to give you that little ending that's the same as both ends. So that basically is how you set up your cord. So I'm just moving the chart away, and I am just finding another example to show you. So here we go. Now, if you've never braided round braid before, I do recommend that you actually look at one of my videos showing you how to do that, because there's lots of really useful information. But I'm just showing you how this actual pattern works. So here I am with my disc, with my cords in the correct position, and I've threaded my beads on. Now I've done a little bit of braiding to show you. So all I've got left on each cord is one repeat. So if I look at cord number 1, I've got that A, A, B, B. If I look at cord number 2, I've got that A, B, A, etc. And all you do is your regular braiding, top down. This is a bit of a sloppy disc. I would prefer a tighter disc, but I've got lots of samples set up, so I'm having to use some of my rather older discs. There we go. So I've popped in a bead on my top down cord and my bottom up. And this is what I'll come up with. So on this particular one, I did this slightly differently. Instead of doing the round maggot hammers, I just did all size 8s. So, you know, you can play around with this and get some really beautiful effects now that you know how to actually get that layout. And when you've done your top down, bottom up, it doesn't matter if you turn to the right or turn to the left. Doesn't matter clockwise, anti-clockwise, doesn't matter. This pattern will work for both of those ways. And of course also, if you decide to go to and fro, which some people like to do for speed braiding, and again I've got videos on speed braiding, so you can take a look at those if you don't believe me. But basically, whichever way you turn, and even if you change directions, these patterns will work out correctly for you. So all I want to say finally is I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope you will come back for more to see some of my other bracelets. And these are just 4 examples. I've got more coming up because I'm hoping that this is a great way to share my ideas with you. If you decide to have a go at these and post them in other places, I would ask that if you've actually used the charts that I've given you here and used my advice, that you mention that in your posts. Share the joy. It helps me and it helps other people, and it keeps us a strong Kumihimo community. So thank you very much for joining me. I hope you'll have fun with this, and I hope you will come back for more. Bye bye.